Hello everybody, we are back here with another tropical outlook and discussion on now Tropical Depression 4. Alright, soon to be Tropical Storm Debby. This is the satellite imagery. This is probably going to be a 10-15 minute update, and I might make a video later on. It just all depends on the timing. But here's the satellite, and yes, it made a landfall about midnight last night. And now it quickly actually went over Cuba, and I will honestly say we need to watch out for this. Here's the storm. Where would you guys think is the low pressure? I'm about to be showing you guys satellite. Right now, low pressure is right off Cuba. And for it being right off Cuba, it's developing in about this center or just a little bit north. It's somewhere in this little area right here is the development of the storm. One thing we notice, we got banding features developing. We had this last night, but banding features today has really begun to organize. We're seeing more convection on the western and eastern side. We're seeing some convection in the center. We're seeing some good bands on the north with deep convection, probably heavy rain trying to wrap around. And then we got some convection on the southern side trying to wrap up. Sorry for the glitches. It's the satellite. Can't really fix that. But right now, the storm is moving pretty much west-northwest right here. Further out that goes, it gets an even better ocean heat content. Alright, so that's a bit concerning. But for it coming off, I will say the structure is very well organized. That's one thing I noticed. Just wait for this to load. Alright, so there is the satellite imagery. Where do you guys think is the low pressure? And yep, it is where you guys thought first. Let's zoom this up just a bit. And there it is. One thing we see is a low pressure developing in the Gulf of Mexico. It was already a spin, but I will say the structure didn't really disorganize. The only thing that happened to it was the convection kind of exposed it. And that's why it's not tropical storm. Still a depression. But I definitely see this tonight becoming Tropical Storm Debby. You could tell by huge amount of convection on the northern side. Let me just fix the pen. Do not know why. Right here is the convection band on this side. We're seeing some convection moving like this. We're seeing clouds moving like that. Low pressure about here right now. That's where the latest low pressure thinking. There is some deep convection trying to wrap around. And I do expect this to continue fixing itself. But for it just getting off the coast and looking this good, I would say this is a pretty good looking tropical depression. You could definitely tell the vorticity this morning has only gotten stronger. Really tight actually vorticity now. Trying to really wrap around. Alright, so there it is. The low level center definitely has a low level center. Convection trying to develop. No shear that I can see. There's no really shear currently, and it's not really that much shear coming into the system, and that's going to be a huge talk in the days to come. Let's take a look at another satellite. So, let's take a look. So, we take a look at water vapor now. Let's take a look at water vapor on current analyses. So, no wind shear that I can see from the satellite. Do we have any drier is the next question. Because if not, is another check mark in the books. And what I can see right here, no. There's a lot of moisture ahead of this system. So it's not, I don't see any major drier, maybe in the U.S., in Alabama, north of Florida, but in the Gulf, could easily explode with some pretty good intensification. I wouldn't even be surprised of having a few hours before landfall rapid intensification. I have noticed that as a possibility. All right. So next thing is the waters. How are the waters? Ocean heat content, like I said, right now coming off, there is some good OCH, good OHC. I mean, my bad. I just realized it's OHC, not OCH. So if I said OCH in another video, I actually mean OHC. I just realized. So sorry about that, you guys. But there it is, some good OHC, about 150, closing about 150 just off the Cuba coastline here. It will continue, and it could glaze parts of the loop current that's out near this part. I would say about 25 north and about like 80 or so, maybe 9, yeah, about like 80 to 85 west degrees. But one thing I will say from current analysis, from last night to the latest here, we actually just got the 2 p.m. update. So we do have the 2 p.m. update. And one thing I will say is the movement. Yesterday, when we were live talking about this was at a 17 miles an hour storm. Then this morning it was at a 16 miles an hour storm. And now it's at 15. So the west-northwest movement is starting to slow down. And we're really going to have to track the movement, because I do expect in these updates the movement is going to start slowing down. And the quicker it slows down, the more likely it has time in the Gulf. So this is now over the waters, pretty much I'll say since afternoon, like 12, maybe o'clock, when we really started noticing, maybe even a little bit earlier. But this is 8 a.m. Sunday morning. We still have this in the Gulf, 8 p.m. This is probably going to make a landfall right now as an 8 a.m. storm. It was supposed to be making landfall overnight, but now some indications with slowing, it could make landfall 8 a.m. So that's a bit interesting there. Then it will continue to move slowly from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 10 hours. Barely moves, pretty much stalls near Florida. That could really heighten this storm up if this thing slows down quicker. And then it continues to stay slow, comes back out of the water, and then potentially making a landfall somewhere in Georgia, South Carolina, and potentially North Carolina is a spot. But I will say they do have tropical storm warnings all along Florida's coast, even for Keys West. I do understand why, because with the bands and some of the daytime thunderstorms can enhance the upper levels and add some wind to it. So definitely some tropical storm bands are possible. But if this goes west-northwest and it moves a bit more west, we can see more of a center of Big Bend of a landfall for this. But this is all coming together now. We still have some uncertainty, and we're really going to have to watch. Alright, so now let's take a look at, is Recon planning on going this? No, not right now. I think they're going to do a Recon around like 5, seeing with the convection. I think they're going to do something like that because they just want to see. But here's the latest GFS. Pretty good position. I think the GFS is onto something right there. But in the next coming hours, it will continue to move north by 8 p.m. Definitely looks a little bit more developed. But we're going to have to watch. How fast does it develop will all depend. But this is 2 a.m. and pretty good, I would say, weak tropical storm. Maybe 40 to maybe even 50 miles an hour wouldn't roll out. But this will start strengthening definitely tomorrow. And tomorrow night, 1001 here. Looking at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Alright, so, wait, tomorrow, wow. So this could actually be like a 50 mile an hour, maybe even, yeah, about like a 50 mile an hour tropical storm tomorrow. Then the GFS actually is a strong, then it has it strengthening a little bit faster. I noticed this on the latest runs on the GFS, has this storm strengthening pretty fast. Why do I think that is the case? Because of less wind shear. But this actually, in the next point, becomes a hurricane. A lot quicker, and definitely been trending stronger with each run. And it has jogged even more west. So that's another thing. So at this point, this is a Category 1 hurricane. Probably going to have hurricane watches and warnings. Then this actually even strengthens faster from a 990 to a 984. You guys, I'm starting to know on the GFS, and we're really going to have to watch this. Is there a potential for rapid intensification? That's slim right now, but we're really going to have to watch. But that's a 984, about, I would say, 100 miles off the coast, 50 to 100 miles. So it could definitely strengthen into a Category 2. And in fact, it does strengthen into a Category 2 hurricane, making landfall now in the Big Bend. Or a strong Cat 1 to a weak Cat 2. That's a bit different than last run. Last run, we were looking at just a Category 1 and a little bit further south of the Big Bend right there. But we're going to have to watch. This slowly moves through. Stays a tropical storm. Probably stays a tropical storm through Georgia. We're going to have to watch another thing right there, the movement. Then moves back into the waters, strengthens back into a hurricane, and it will strengthen into a Category 1 on the latest GFS. And it kind of does the loop pretty fast, so South Carolina, Georgia of a landfall. But then that will move slow and move out. But one thing I'm starting to know is we're gonna have to watch Northeast, but we're gonna have a cold front, and this could be extratropical, where we see a flooding event for the Northeast. All right, this has trended too. We're really gonna have to watch because this has a lot of rain, multiple hours of very heavy rain stretching into the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, north of New York, Connecticut area, and this will ride the coast, probably bring some wind impacts and more rain. We look at total accumulations according to the GFS here, if this loads, and wow. You can tell for Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, even North Carolina, you're looking at a foot plus. So that's very interesting. Definitely more in the latest run with the 12Z. But one thing we're starting to know is the Northeast too. I mean, that's about up to a foot of rain widespread in the Northeast too. From last run, had a sloth about like 6 to 10 inches, 6 to 12, I would say. And that's been showing up on multiple model runs. And we're really going to have to watch this for the Northeast too, because there is today flooding risk for the Northeast. So if it's a flooding risk today, I cannot just imagine the flooding potential out of Debby. Alright. We go to another model, is the Canadian. This is, I mean, I don't really like looking at models like that, like the Canadian, but definitely has a shift to the west. That's been the trend, to the shift to the west, and we're really going to have to watch that. But has a very powerful storm. Doesn't actually, on the latest Canadian, I mean, Canadian never had it, but never gets off the coast. That's an indication too. But this, you could tell, goes into the Northeast and has a huge flooding event, you guys. Probably an extratropical system, depression, whatever you want to call it. But we're really going to need to watch. Then I'm noticing on the Canadian has maybe another little tropical system in the Bay of Campeche. That has looked to be. But let's take a look at one more model out of the globe. Actually, two more models. I know this video is going a bit longer than I wanted it to, but I'd rather get the detail out and not worry about that. But this will make a landfall in Florida, then come off the coast, according to the Euro, as a hurricane. And this will stall near Georgia, stall near the South Carolina, with the latest 6Z. We look at the 0Z. That goes out a little farther. And we see pretty much same thing. Does a loop and then makes landfall as a Cat 2. Potentially Category 1 or 2. Then moves north, misses the northeast, but very close call there too. So we're gonna have to watch that. Let's look at another model quickly. Hurricane models I'm not really looking at. The positions on them is just, I don't know. Like the HERF, like I'll be showing this, but the positions on these are way off. I mean, it has a surface low developing near the Florida Keys. I mean, way to the west. East, I mean. And it has it doing this. Still develops into a Category 2 hurricane. I will note that on the HERF. Still, as still even further west, it still develops into a Category 2. So I would say the threshold is from a Cat 1 to maybe a weekend Category 2. We're going to have to watch if it continues to become a bit of a bigger threat. But we're going to have to take it with a side of caution. Alright. Now I know I'm going to get a lot of claim for looking at the NAM 3KM. But I will say this is a possibility. Trust me, it's not showing a Cat 5. Alright, it's not showing before I get the comments. But on this run, it strengthens it pretty well. And this is a possibility. Strengthens it. And now it, and you know, it has a 991. And it has its making landfalls that actually even weaker than the last. Oh, never mind. It has it making landfall as a stronger Category 2 on the latest NAM model. So that's why I'm looking at it. So do not worry. We're not looking at the 6Z. I know it showed like a 919. But in the latest 12Z has a Category 2. And this could definitely happen. Because I'm noticing the Category 2 is definitely possible. And the N3 has it moving slowly to the north. So we're going to have to watch that. But that's your latest update. One more thing I'm going to or a few more things I'm going to like to talk about is the water temps. Once again, extremely warm north of Cuba. Where this is at, going to get even in warmer waters. So the waters are fine. These are the spaghetti models of the latest 12Z. Kind of, the National Hurricane Center might have to make a shift again in the next run. Closer to the Big Bend. That's definitely a big possibility. We're going to have to see that. This is the National Hurricane Center. Do have a 70 mile an hour landfall, 8 a.m. Monday morning. So we're going to have to look at that. Rainfall, potentially. This is a little concerning too. Has just off the coast 12 to 16 inches. I could see this going up even further. And I could see this trending further inland. Definitely. But with the latest National Hurricane Center making landfall around there, you know, and even near Tampa, 8 to 12 inches. We're really going to have to watch that. 4 to 6 in the yellow, 6 to 8 in that darker yellow, and then the orange 8 to 12, and then in that darker red 12 to 16. Could there be 16 to 20? That's a slow, that's a less of a possibility, but possible. But now I'm gonna like to take a look at satellite imagery, close this out, and tell you guys the game plan with today on this storm. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I am so sorry, you guys. Okay, I was looking at the satellite, and if you guys just look to the right, it says Tropical Storm Daniel, and I'm like, oh, my first reaction like, Tropical Storm Debby already? I thought that said Debby for a second, because it's the D name storm, so I'm sorry for the jump scared right there. But, let's look at satellite one more time, and then it has the close off, alright? Hope that was a little sense of humor in this video to brighten things up, because I know this is a very stressful. So if I'm in Florida, I'm preparing where this is going to make landfall. One thing I'm noticing on Minicast, very worrying to me, you always have to look at small details, has a new burst of deep convection around that new center. I'm starting to notice that the convection right now is getting better and better organized, and I'm noticing more and more convection developing. And if this convection can all consolidate, we can have Tropical Storm Debby later on for the 11 p.m. update. Or, this is it, or convection develops faster by 5 p.m. My bad. If the convection can develop a little bit faster, this could become a tropical storm a little quicker. This could strengthen a little quicker, I will say. But we're going to have to really watch this. Stay tuned. Watch your local news. See where you are at. I will say, if you guys are any questions with Miami, do not worry about it. Big Bend, anywhere along the coast, even Florida Keys, you're just going to have to watch out for some tornadoes too. That's another thing. We're going to mention that in a little bit later, but that's going to wrap it up for this one.